Do you like canning and preserving your produce like we do? Well, today we're going to show you how to ferment jalapenos. Just ready to sell Homestead? Let's get right into it. So, first thing we need to do is get some jalapenos. So, the jalapenos that I got are from one of our local farms. It's actually Pickled Farm. I got a big old case of jalapenos. I got that box in addition to this that we're about to wash for, I think, 25 bucks. So definitely check out with your local farmers. I'm sure there's a lot in your area that you can source good jalapenos from. But first thing we're gonna do is wash them. Ignore the dishes in the sink.
Easiest way to wash your jalapenos is to use water.
I'm not super concerned about making sure that they're super washed because I know where these come from. And so I know they're good. Now, while I'm slicing, because we're gonna be slicing the jalapenos, I want to sanitize everything that we have. So we're going to be using a couple different things. I have the quart jars, I have the pint jars. These are our fermentation lids, and I also have fermentation weights in there. So all I'm doing to sanitize those is boil them. So they're going to sit in there and they're going to boil. Now you notice I'm wearing gloves. The reason I wear gloves is because we have kids, we have babies. And so if I have to pick up the kids, I don't want the capsaicin, which is the spicy stuff from these peppers, getting onto the kids, so I can just take off the gloves and replace them and go about my day without having to worry about anything. So slicing the jalapeno is pretty easy. I like to get as much as possible, so I just take a little bit of that off. Now, when you do this, just make sure you don't cut yourself, because that would be silly. You can take the seeds out if you want. I will be leaving most of the seeds in, but we're just going to be slicing these. To get our desired thickness, which is about that. I'd say it's probably about 1/4 inch. Time to cut. I like to have some of the seeds in there, but I'll just kind of tap them. And then we'll rinse it again later on, which will get some of the extra seeds out. The seeds don't actually store the flavor of the capsaicin. That's the heat. A lot of people think the seed is the heat. It's not the seed. So this area right here, this is the pith. This is what actually stores all of the heat of the seed, or all the heat of the jalapeno. The seeds, the only reason the seeds tend to be hot is because they're attached to the pith.
Cutting jalapenos is pretty basic. Of course, it all depends on what you want from your jalapenos, but we just do them in the slices.
Okay, so now that we have our jalapenos cut up, we're going to go ahead and start putting them in quart jars. Now you can use smaller jars. I would actually recommend using smaller jars when you first start, so that you can narrow down exactly what level of brine you want to use. We're going to fill these up. I'm going to use this guy. When you fill up these jars, what I want is I want it to come right up to here with jalapenos. So I want it to be right at the bottom of that lip with it pushed down. So just like this. Oh, these are spicy.
And like you just read in the text overlay, you'll hear me clearing my throat a few times during this process because they're spicy and it was definitely burning my throat. But just make sure you push them down, fill them up, and get it done.
All right, so I like to try and make things as easy as possible. We have our 4 jars. I have kosher salt, I have a scale, and I have water. Now it's time to make our brine. Now, the brine is what's going to actually help the fermentation process. What the brine is made out of? It's salt and water. You just need to know what percentage to do. So we're going to use this cup right here. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to tare it, which is going to go out to 0. So we're going to do 0 grams. And I'm going to set the camera where you can see it a little easier. 0. Now for this part, you might want to try some experimentation on your own using smaller 12 or 16 ounce jars. We've already done ours, so you can do a 1% brine, you can do a 2% brine, a 3%, a 4%. Wouldn't really recommend going over 4%, but I know I want a 3.5% brine. So what we're going to do is we're going to add water until we get 1,000 grams. But when I say 1,000 grams, we're going to stop just short of it at like 950. All right, so 939. So that's a perfectly fine spot to stop to explain this next part. So to get percentage, we're going to do a percentage of salt to water. I want the solution to be 3.5% salt. The other 96.5% is going to be water, which means I'm going to add kosher salt to get that variation. Now our total solution is going to be 1,000 grams in weight. It's much easier to do this by weight than it is to try and do milliliters or liters or ounces. Just do it by grams. It makes life so much easier. So 3.5% to get the ratio of 1,000 grams is 35 grams, which means 1,000 minus 35 grams is 965 grams of water. So there's going to be 965 grams of water and 35 grams of salt, which means our brine is a 3.5% mixture. I'll put up on the screen all the math so you understand. And just rewind, look back on the screen if you need to go back over it. If you wanted to do a 2%, it would be 980 grams of water, 20 grams of salt. If you wanted to do 4%, 40 grams of salt, 960 grams of water. So this only works if you're doing it at 1,000 grams. You could do other ones. 1,000 grams for my example is the best way. So let's bring it up to 965. Close enough. 966. So fast. There we go. And we're going to add salt until that gets to 1,000 grams. Think I can get it exact? Now we're going to stir to get this all dissolved. Just going to take a look. Pretty good. We're going to take our glass and we're going to fill it with water. This is a fermentation weight. And all the stuff that you see, just click on the link in the description. Take you straight to the Amazon store, the canning and preserving. You can get any of this stuff on the Amazon store. So our weight is going to hold it down. So by adding that weight, it makes sure that the vegetable stays underneath the brine. We're gonna take a fermentation lid. Now these fermentation lids, you see how it has this little hole? What that does is as this ferments, it's gonna release gas. And as it releases gas, it'll actually allow the air to pop out. So we're gonna close it. Might get some liquid that pops out. Pretty full. Just like that. We're gonna do it with all of them. Now when you're doing this, you might have to make more brine depending on the size of your jars. That's okay. All right, so once you have your jars filled up, you're gonna put them in a nice cool place. I usually put them in a cool, slightly dark place. I'll be putting them right in here with some of my other canned goods. We're gonna leave them right here. Let them sit for at least 10 days. I like to do mine for 14. You may like to do yours for 7 to 10, but I recommend let them sit for at least 7 days. After 7 days, you can actually try it out. If you're using these cool little fermentation lids, you don't have to do anything. Depending on what kind of top you put, you may have to check on it, replace it if you're just using a paper towel. But with these fermentation lids, I mean, these are just gonna sit here for 7 days. I'll set an alarm on my phone and I'll come back and they'll be ready. So again, if this is the first time you've done this, I recommend trying it at 7 days, see how you like it. Now again, experiment with it. So you're gonna try a couple different percentages until you figure out what you like. Try with a 1% brine, a 2% brine, a 3%, a 4%. That's how we found out that we like the 3.5. So try it at 7 days. If you like it, you can throw it in the fridge. If you don't like it, let it sit for a little longer. We like ours to ferment for 2 weeks, but 7 days later, coming up right now. Once they've fermented for the time you want them to, whether that's 1 week, 2 week, ours was 2 weeks. We always put the date on top and then we put the rim, seal it shut. Now this is not something that you can because the lactobacillus, which is what it's fermenting inside of, it's what's gonna keep it preserved. You can see all of it down there. Occasionally if you want, you can shake it upside down and you're good to go. But what you're gonna do with this is you're gonna store it in your refrigerator. Now we always keep one open, but if you see in the back, we have a couple cans that are back there. As long as the jalapenos haven't been exposed to the air and they're in that lactobacillus, which they're fermenting inside of, you're gonna be safe. They're gonna last for months inside your refrigerator. You open one up, bring it to the front, use it on your sandwiches, in your salads, or however you like. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Let me know in the comments below, what do you like to ferment? And if you fermented jalapenos before, how long do you let yours ferment for? And what % brine solution do you use? Is Ready, Set, Homestead? Enjoy Homestead.